in this era of deep complexity.
This move, too, is going to, like you were saying, quell the Palestinian-Israeli fight. It's going to make it much more peaceful there.
Beyond the edges of black or white.
We don't need a bipartisan security bill. Oh, I need my bipartisan security bill. Where's my bipartisan security bill? And we just need a new president.
It's time to be notionally accurate.
Well, dude, you make me nervous because if you do go opposite of me, I gotta know my. I gotta know what I'm talking about because otherwise, you make me look stupid real quick. And you've done it before, and I was kind of nervous about it today. I'll be honest with you.
Here's your host, Captain Kirk.
So your evidence is that you kind of remembered maybe perhaps her saying it somewhere at some point in time.
You know what kind of researcher I am.
And some guy named Jason.
Welcome one and all to the 28th episode of the Notionally Accurate podcast, produced live right here at the One Man's Burden Studios in my undisclosed compound, located anywhere but the bunkers of Tehran. My name's Captain Kirk, and I'll be your affable host. In a moment, I'll be joined by Jason to break down the initial strikes in Iran and the aftermath, but first, I want to talk about the long road that brought us here. It's a fascinating tug and pull between those who are for war and those who are for prudence. Let's call it the bluster versus prudence. This is a road that's been paved with a century of interventionist ambition. And now we're going to see how the ghosts of 1917 and the slanders of the 1940s are still haunting our strategy in the Strait. While Democratic presidents have participated in the world wars and the most intense combat of Vietnam, Republican presidents have engaged in their own, from the Spanish-American War to the Iraq War. This is not about politics. This is about prudence versus bluster. The first breach of what can be called our splendid isolation in America was the Spanish-American War. It was preceded by an event that every president has required before taking us to war, the incident. In this case, the USS Maine blew up outside a Cuban port and became a rallying cry. American forces went in, liberated Cuba, grabbed a few territories in the Gulf, and then steered to East Asia to sink Spain's navy. That kicked Spain out of the Western Hemisphere. The full-on broken seal was World War I. The Great War. The war to end all wars. A mass murder on an industrial scale. Pointless and bloody. President Wilson was desperate to placate both the prudence, those who thought America should only enter to dictate peace terms, like Roosevelt did in 1906, after the Russo-Japanese War, and the war hawks, the munitions manufacturers and the banking class worried about British financial interests collapsing the world economy. Like the Maine, the justification was an incident, the sinking of the Lusitania in 1915, a reason that proved insufficient since the liner was sunk with British munitions aboard 2 years prior to American entry.
One of the key turning points in World War I was the discovery of the Zimmermann telegram. The Zimmermann telegram was a German Foreign Ministry official communication sent by the German Foreign Minister Arthur Zimmermann to the German ambassador in Mexico City, asking him to open negotiations with the Mexican government about working with Germany in the war. Also alluded to a potential alliance with Japan if it would help Germany in the war against the United States. If it would help Germany in the war, Germany was offered to help Mexico gain back its territory lost to the United States in earlier conflicts. The telegram was intercepted by British intelligence, decoded, and shared with the United States, and it showed evidence that Germany was plotting with other countries to attack the United States. This was one of the significant reasons why the United States was provoked into entering the war.
The Great War ended in late 1918, but the peace was not to be. Wilson's 14 points and his ill health turned into a tripwire for a decade of chaos. Eventually, one of our most highly decorated generals, Smedley BUTLER, stepped up and warned us that war is a racket. He had been a corporate strongman for United Fruit, and he knew the truth.
Take our own case. Until 1898, we didn't own a bit of territory outside the mainland of North America. At that time, our national debt was a little more than $1 billion. Then we became internationally minded. We forgot, or shunted aside, the advice of the father of our country. We forgot George Washington's warning about entangling alliances. We went to war. We acquired outside territory. At the end of the World War period, as a direct result of our fiddling in international affairs, our national debt had jumped to over $25 billion. Our total favorable trade balance during the 25-year period was about $24 billion. Therefore, on a purely bookkeeping basis, we ran a little behind year for year, and that foreign trade might well have been ours without the wars. It would have been far cheaper, not to say safer, for the average American who pays the bills to stay out of foreign entanglements. For a very few, this racket, like bootlegging and other underworld rackets, brings fancy profits, but the cost of operations is always transferred to the people, who do not profit.
As the Prudence and the Warhawks spent 10 years clouding the national judgment, the Great Depression hit the reset button, forcing every major player back into a war footing just to keep their economies afloat. Enter FDR. Walking the same Wilsonian tightrope, but with a much steadier hand. He had a mandate for neutrality, but he was already building the wiggle room into his war powers. He chose to ignore the isolationists, men and women generally traumatized by 1917, and instead began a systemic campaign of provocation. This is where the slander begins. We have Congressman Gerald Nye warning about war profiteers in the First World War.
It is not going to be a simple matter for America to stay out of it. American commercial interests, selfish and greedy, sensing the opportunity for profit from war, would do as they have done in the past if left to pursue their own course. The arms embargo is far too great a security to American peace to permit its surrender without a last-ditch fight.
You look at Charles Lindbergh, a hero turned pariah in the span of a few speeches. His 1941 Des Moines address wasn't just a plea for peace, it was a warning that the deck was being stacked.
The power of the Roosevelt administration depends upon the maintenance of a wartime emergency. The prestige of the Roosevelt administration depends upon the success of Great Britain, to whom the President attached his political future at a time when most people thought that England and France could easily win the war. The danger of the Roosevelt administration lies in its subterfuge. While its members have promised us peace, they have led us to war, heedless of the platform upon which they were elected.
I have said this before, but I shall say it again and again and again. Your boys are not going to be sent into any foreign war.
When hostilities commenced in Europe in 1939, it was realized by these groups that the American people had no intention of entering the war. They knew it would be worse than useless to ask us for a declaration of war at that time. But they believed that this country could be enticed into the war in very much the same way that it was enticed into the last one. They planned, first, to prepare the United States for foreign war under the guise of American defense. Second, to involve us in the war step by step without our realization. Third, to create a series of incidents which would force us into the actual conflict. These plans were, of course, to be covered and assisted by the full power of their propaganda. Our theaters soon became filled with plays portraying the glory of war. Newsreels lost all semblance of objectivity. Newspapers and magazines began to lose advertising if they carried anti-war articles. A smear campaign was instituted against individuals who opposed intervention. The terms fifth columnist, traitor, Nazi, anti-Semitic were thrown ceaselessly at anyone who dared to suggest that it was not to the best interests of the United States to enter war. Our system of democracy and representative government is on test today as it has never been before. We are on the verge of a war in which the only victor would be chaos and prostration. We are on the verge of war for which we are still unprepared and for which no one has offered a feasible plan of victory. A war which cannot be won without sending our soldiers across an ocean to fight and to force a landing on a hostile coast against armies stronger than our own. We are on the verge of war, but it is not yet too late to stay out. It is not yet too late to show that no amount of money or propaganda or patronage can force a free and independent people into war against its will.
And it was being stacked. Just 1 week prior to that speech, September 4th, 1941, we had the Greer incident, FDR's version of the USS Maine, a deliberate attempt to bait a German U-boat into firing first so the incident could finally be sold.
But we do know that when Winston Churchill returned to London in 1941, in August 1941, he told the War Cabinet, if I may quote it, the War Cabinet report. Churchill told the Cabinet that Roosevelt, quote, said that he would wage war but not declare it, and that he would become more and more provocative. Everything was to be done to force an incident. The President made it clear that he would look for an incident which would justify him in opening hostilities.
On September 4th, 1941, an American destroyer, the USS Greer, provided President Roosevelt with the incident he was looking for. The Greer was on a mail run to Iceland. A British patrol plane signaled that it had spotted a German U-boat. The U-boat tried to evade its pursuers. Zigzagged towards the submarine, made sonar contact, and began tracking the U-boat. After 2 hours, the submarine fired a torpedo at the unmarked Greer, thinking it was a British destroyer. The Greer began dropping depth charges and continued pursuing the U-boat for 2 more hours, dropping 11 more depth charges. The Greer tracked the U-boat a while longer. The logs of both the destroyer and the submarine indicate that it was a classic anti-submarine warfare maneuver. The destroyer was the aggressor, and the U-boat fired in self-defense. President Roosevelt used the incident to initiate the policy of shoot on sight. The Cold War in the Atlantic was over.
In spite of what Hitler's propaganda bureau has invented, in spite of what any American obstructionist organization may prefer to believe, I tell you the blunt fact that the German submarine fired first upon this American destroyer Greer without warning and with deliberate design to sink her. When you see a rattlesnake poised to strike, you do not wait until he has struck before you crush him. These Nazi submarines and raiders are the rattlesnakes of the Atlantic.
From what we know now, it was an act of deception, given at both the congressional and the public level. Whatever the goodness of the cause, the rightness of it, of the objectives, it was in fact, it was a distortion, an important distortion of the facts, of the truth.
I would argue that there was a public and a private FDR, and that the public FDR was deceptive, devious, lacked candor, dissembled, whatever word you'd like to use. Occasionally, he lied, yes. But that's not quite the same as saying that people didn't know what direction he was going in.
It was an occasion, it was a reason, it was the moment for Roosevelt to move to unrestricted convoying and to an unrestricted naval war at sea, which lasted from that day to Pearl Harbor.
On October 31st, 1941, a German U-boat torpedoed the USS Reuben James, killing over 100 members of the crew. The attack signaled the end of American neutrality, and the country edged closer to war.
Have you heard of a ship called the Reuben James? Manned by hard-fighting men, both of honor and fame. Stars and stripes of this land of the free. Tonight she's in her grave on the bottom of the sea. Tell me what was their names, tell me what was their names. Did you have a friend on that good Reuben James? What was their names, tell me what was their names. Did you have a friend on that good Reuben James?
FDR placed his personal friend and confidant, Harry Hopkins, in charge of Lend-Lease, which benefited not the British with massive tonnage of supplies, but the Soviets. Former FDR advisor William C. Bullitt even reiterated something Roosevelt told him in a meeting.
I just have a hunch that Stalin is not that kind of man. Harry Hopkins says he's not, and that he doesn't want anything except security for his own country. And I think that if I give him everything I possibly can and ask nothing from him in return, noblesse oblige, he won't try to annex anything and will work with me for a world of democracy and peace.
The irony, of course, is that the America First dissenters were a wide coalition. Business interests, veterans of the First World War, nationalists, and, from 1939 to 1941, communists. You see, the latter created a front group called the American Peace Mobilization. In fact, it was a pro-war organization originally titled the Hollywood Anti-Nazi League. Once Stalin made peace with Hitler in September 1939, there was a period of anti-war isolationism among the Communist Party members. The American Peace Mobilization staged a 1,000-hour sit-in on the White House lawn, demanding FDR not supply the Allies. That is until June 21st, 1941. As any prudent follower of history knows, the next day, Germany invaded the Soviets in Operation Barbarossa. The day Germany invaded the Soviets, the APM flipped instantly and demanded we enter the war. Meanwhile, a Soviet agent named Harry Dexter White was operating as Deputy Treasury Secretary. Incidentally, Harry Dexter White has connections to Colombia. Under his codenamed Jurist, he formulated Operation Snow. This was a plan to provoke Japan into retaliation for a series of embargo and sanctioning programs that the Roosevelt administration had enacted. White succeeded. Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and pulled America into a war on behalf of Soviet interests. After 1945, the pattern continued. The China hands in Washington effectively handed the mainland to Mao, leaving Chiang Kai-shek to flee to Formosa, now called Taiwan. We didn't just lose China, we created a permanent state of exile and the brutal occupation of Tibet. We traded a stable ally for a century of anxiety because the architects of transition thought they knew better than the people on the front lines. In the 50s, the CIA and British intelligence concocted the coup in Iran that installed the Shah, a move that eventually led to the 1979 hostage crisis. In the 60s, JFK greenlit the toppling of Diem in Vietnam, only to be cut down himself in Dallas. LBJ stepped in, needing his own incident, the Gulf of Tonkin. This was a phantom skirmish used as a blank check for escalation.
In 2003, former U.S. Defense Secretary Robert McNamara sat for an interview for the documentary The Fog of War. Here he describes the events surrounding the Gulf of Tonkin attacks.
On August 2nd, the destroyer Mantis reported it was attacked by a North Vietnamese patrol boat. It was an act of aggression against us. We were in international waters. I sent officials from the Defense Department out, and we recovered pieces of North Vietnamese shells that were clearly identified as North Vietnamese shells from the deck of the Mantis. So there was no question in my mind that it had occurred. But in any event, we didn't respond. And it was very difficult. It was difficult for the president. There were very, very senior people in uniform and out who said, my God, this president is, they didn't use the word coward, but in effect, he's not protecting the national interests. Two days later, the Mantis and the Turner Joy, two destroyers, reported they were attacked.
Where are these torpedoes coming from? Well, we don't know. Presumably from these unidentified craft.
There were sonar soundings, torpedoes had been detected, other indications of attack from patrol boats. We spent about 10 hours that day trying to find out what in the hell had happened. At one point, the commander of the ship said, we're not certain of the attack. Another point, they said, yes, we're absolutely positive. And then finally, late in the day, Admiral Sharp said, yes, we're certain it happened. So I reported this to Johnson, and as a result, there were bombing attacks on targets in North Vietnam. Johnson said, we may have to escalate. I'm not going to do it without congressional authority. And he put forward a resolution, the language of which gave complete authority to the president to take the nation to war. The Tonkin Gulf Resolution.
We traded 58,000 American lives for a quagmire that ended in a panicked withdrawal. So, fast forwarding to today, where does that leave us? I spent the last couple minutes tearing down the interventionist machine. And you might be asking, Kirk, if the game is rigged, why support the play in the straight? It's a fair question. But there is a massive fundamental difference between the Wilsonian crusade and a national necessity. The architects of Vietnam, for example, were trying to manage the soul of the world. What we are seeing today in the Iranian plateau isn't about democracy or nation building. It's about the Hormuz Strait. We live in a world where a medieval regime can put a thumb on the windpipe of the global economy. Supporting the effort to cripple that capability isn't bluster, it's prudence. You can be a skeptic of the incident and still be a realist about the embargo. We don't need to save Iran. We just need to ensure they can't starve the American engine, and the world for that matter. That's not a contradiction, that is America first. To dig into the tactical reality, I'm turning it over to Jason and I. We spoke a great deal about the hardware, the congressional vote on the War Powers Act, and the cost of keeping the lights on. Here is that conversation.
Cause I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I was down in the fan of France, gonna stand up.
So I'm really happy you chose that song.
Next,
instead of something like Born in the USA or Rocket in the Free World, because those songs are actually incredibly critical of America.
Yeah.
And because people hear the song and think, oh, well, it sounds patriotic and pro-American. It's not. It's definitely not any of those things. So I'm happy you chose Mr. Greenwood.
Yeah, because I'm proud to be an American. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are riding the ship.
And what makes you so proud to be an American?
Well, I approve of the actions of the president against Iran, but let me back up. I was thinking about this the other day, and I realized that I called you on October 8th and said we should go straight to Tehran. And that's what I said to you, and I was incredibly angry. And we all knew that Tehran is by proxy doing this. We all knew that Iran was in control of Hezbollah and of Hamas. We all know this. We all know that Iran got money from the Biden administration, and instead of putting money into the infrastructure of their country, they put money into nuclear weapons and gave the majority of their money into their little gangs that they had to rain terror on the region. So I am proud that at this point in history, Trump had the wherewithal to do something that no other president either wasn't capable of doing or just wouldn't do. And the world is safer because of this action.
What would it take to launch a preemptive strike on Iran? It starts with math. A tactic called time on target. Missiles fired from destroyers in the Arabian Sea. Jets off carrier decks. Submarines striking from below. Israeli aircraft flying nearly 1,000 miles through contested airspace, but engineered to impact at the exact same second. Wave 1. Blind the battlefield. Radar stations, air defense hubs, command centers, cruise missiles skim low. Electronic warfare scrambles screens. Decoys flood systems with false targets. Stealth aircraft slip through the gaps. Wave 2 would target ballistic missile launchers and military airfields. Wave 3 would focus on strategic infrastructure. But here's the reality. Even after a synchronized first strike, Iran still has missiles and drones. Retaliation would be immediate. Regional bases on high alert. Air defenses from Israel to the UAE lighting up the sky. Because in modern warfare, it's not about who fires first. It's about who controls the timing.
And also, too, like I believe Israel should exist as a nation. I think they are sovereign. I guess that would make me a Zionist or whatever. But I'm pro-Israel. So I think this whole thing is going to bring peace to the area. There's going to be fighting still because the Arab nations have their own way. But anytime you can take away a religious state-sanctioned extremists, you can take nuclear weapons or even the possibility of nuclear weapons away from them. The world is safer. So that's why I am proud to be an American.
And very rousing, patriotic, factual defense of the actions under President Trump and the U.S. military, working alongside Israel, of course. Wow, that was a heck of an operation. I am in full support of what they've done, taking out the you cut off the head almost entirely now, to the point where they can't even vote for the replacements because the replacements are crushed. It's great. And you cannot say that President Trump has not said he wouldn't do this, because we have footage from him, from back in the 80s, right after the revolution.
The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries.
What did Reagan do when Iran got uppity in the 80s? Operation Mantis. He sunk almost the entire Iran Navy. It was beautiful. No casualties on our side. So that's always a win.
The U.S. had three key objectives: destroy Iranian military platforms used for attacks, sink an Iranian warship as a warning, deter further aggression in the Gulf. U.S. forces struck the Siri and Sasson platforms, giving warnings before opening fire. Iranian defenders resisted but were quickly overwhelmed. Marines secured intelligence before demolishing the platforms. Iran retaliated with small attack boats harassing civilian ships. U.S. jets swiftly eliminated them. Meanwhile, the Iranian missile boat Joshan fired a Harpoon missile at U.S. ships, only to be destroyed by a U.S. counterattack. Iran's frigate Sahand engaged but was struck by U.S. Harpoon missiles and laser-guided bombs, leading to a catastrophic explosion. Another frigate, Sabalan, was also hit but spared from total destruction by a last-minute U.S. order. By the end of the day, Iran had lost half its navy, while the U.S. suffered no combat losses. 4 months later, Iran and Iraq signed a peace deal, ending the war. Realizing it couldn't match U.S. military power, Iran shifted to asymmetric warfare, relying on proxy groups like the Houthis and Hezbollah to strike at U.S. interests indirectly. Operation Praying Mantis was a decisive U.S. victory that reshaped Gulf security. While Iran avoided direct conflict after this, its reliance on proxy forces has only grown.
I think that this just shows that Trump is a man of his word. because he never said he would never strike Iran. He said, here's the line. And people say, oh, well, they're crossing it. They're crossing it. I'm sure by that point, the operation was already in a planning phase. If we're able to remove a threat like that, Israel is therefore much safer. If Israel is safer, there's less reason for them to fight with their neighbors. They already have agreements with Saudi Arabia. I think they're allied with Egypt, the Abraham Accords. It's amazing. I fully support the strikes against Iran. No, we're not starting World War III. We've seen the results of the attacks. Yes, Iran is throwing a temper tantrum, but Russia is busy with Ukraine, and China, which is eyeing Taiwan in the South China Sea, just saw what happens if you mess with Trump. So are they going to attack Taiwan? I don't think so.
I don't know why, but I'm shocked at your opinion on this. Wait, so we agree. I didn't think you agreed with me. I thought you were more an isolationist.
Let's be clear here. You pin that label on me. I don't pin that label on myself.
You're just an isolationist socially.
I suppose so.
Not politically.
Bazinga. No, I support providing security to Taiwan. Unlike AOC, I know our policy. If China f***s with Taiwan, we'll f*** with them. Like, don't even try it. I've been outspoken in saying that I support providing Ukraine the weaponry they desire in order to fight Russia. I don't think that's an issue. The issue is accountability for the procurement of those arms, making sure everything's up to snuff. I don't think that's an isolationist stance. Oh no. And then providing Israel with the military and intelligence, take out Hezbollah and work on securing Syria. If they can do that, that's a forward operating base that we don't have to worry about boots on the ground. If they're willing to, I mean, we're bringing in the Kurds too. The Kurds, where they said, oh, Donald Trump betrayed them. There's no way we can repair this relationship after his absolute treacherous betrayal. Well, here they are. They know we're the best game in town. We'll help them.
He personally called them. He talked to like the head general or whatever, like literally caught him on the phone and was like, hey, I'm going to need your help with this. So that's the whole. What's really interesting too is Iraq and Iran. The way it is drawn up, it is so European. You have the northern Iraqi Kurds and the northern Irani Kurds. They're still Kurds, and I think to a degree, and I don't know that much, but they might be a lot alike. They just happen to live on two different countries, even though they're one nation in and of themselves.
I'm a little surprised that you're shocked at my opinion, because I'm certain that you follow me on Twitter/X at Notionally ACC. That's at Notionally ACC. You would see that I have been posting in support of the strikes against Iran. I don't know, is this a war? I wouldn't call it a war. Is it even? I mean, if you're able to topple a regime in 2 seconds, is that really a war? I mean, was the Persian Gulf War a war? I guess it was. But, you know, if we're able to do that, and it's not a forever war because we don't have that permanent presence there as an occupation. It's like what we did with Venezuela to an extent, though their regime is still in place. We just yeeted Maduro.
2 hours. 2 hours. We got him in 2 hours. We showed up, grabbed him right before he went into his personal safe, and took him out in 2 hours. That's crazy, dude. We went in and took the head of state of another country, and he is now in jail in Manhattan. That's nuts, dude. So, like, people don't like war. We're going to be in a forever war. No, we're not. Like this is not the Afghanistan thing. After September 11th and we invaded Iraq, there was a lot of like, what is this? Like, even with just the American public was like, okay, yeah, let's get them, and they did it. But it always kind of was like, what? It didn't make any sense. Trump is not like that. Trump, he says a lot of stupid stuff, but he's very specific on what he does. Like, if he's like, they were negotiating with the Iranians to the very end. To show, hey, you guys, are you ever going to give us up? And B, as bait, because they didn't think the Americans would act because we kept negotiating, so kind of kept them passive a little bit. But they never gave up. They never gave it up. And every time Trump's like, guys, if you don't do this, there is going to be consequences. If you don't stop, there's going to be consequences. If you don't stop, there's going to be consequences. And now there's consequences.
Trump's envoy to Iran, the lead negotiator, as opposed to Rob Malley, Biden's negotiator, who had his security clearance pulled because he was caught up in some weird scandal with the with classified information. Crazy guy. He gave us a JCPOA, the Iran deal, so take that for what it's worth. Steve Witkoff, the lead negotiator for President Trump, has echoed exactly what you said. He was dying for a deal. They wouldn't accept it.
It's so dangerous when they believe God is on their side and they have to answer to no man. With negotiating with that, if Allah is up there and he's got your back, no matter what Western world's going to say, because you are in the right. This is destined to be. I will bring the end of the world in the name of Allah, whatever. And so you can't negotiate with that. There's no negotiating with that. This move, too, is going to, like you were saying, quell the Palestinian-Israeli fight. It's going to make it a much more peaceful there, which is going to be very interesting to see in the future how the Palestinians and Israel exist without the Palestinians being puppets. Because up to this point, they were puppets. They were human fodder used by the mullahs. So they were used to always be a thorn in the side in Israel, to always undermine anything Israel was doing. So now that you no longer have the support of that, where they were single-handedly, purposefully keeping the Palestinians down in order to make the Israelites look bad. I truly believe that. Now that they no longer have that kind of pressure from the mullahs, from Iran, it's going to be very interesting to see the integration of the Palestinians and the Israelites. It might be smoother than anticipated. It might be. I mean, it's still going to be rough. It's still the Middle East. But as long as you don't have, I don't know, that support in it, and you don't have the Hezbollahs and the Hamases and these terror organizations just there causing chaos, that peace could actually be reached, I think. Egypt doesn't want problems. Jordan doesn't want problems.
Yeah, they're the ones that are dying for the Abraham Accords.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia doesn't. I read an article this week about how any political capital that Iran had at all, they used it. In their effort to shoot a drone at Turkey and have Turkey shut down the United States of America, that didn't do that. What it does is it makes Turkey go, okay, Iran, you shouldn't be doing, like shooting drones at the UAE. That's not going to put the UAE telling the United States, stop, they're hurting us, stop. Like, no.
Tucker's favorite Middle Eastern country, Qatar, if I'm not mistaken, Iran struck them as well.
Yeah, no, Qatar condemned. The entire Arab League condemned Iran. Like, they have no friends. So the Soviet Union is in no way, shape, or form to support them. China is a paper tiger. I'm telling you that right now. China can huff and puff and do whatever they want. The problem with China is they don't make anything. They're communists. Communists don't make anything. so they have to steal everything. They're not innovative. I was reading an article the other day about how everyone's worried about the Chinese AI. They can't keep up with us. Every AI company, private AI companies in the United States right now.
And that's why Trump is pushing so hard for the U.S. to become the world capital in AI. That's why he's quote unquote cozying up to the Silicon Valley types. He's trying to create that brain trust to create AI that will put others to shame.
And it's so that being said, so Iran's, I mean, they have some guy, I don't know who they named. They named somebody yesterday that was supposed to be the new Ayatollah, whatever, the new head guy. If I were in Iran right now and I were a holy man and I got a phone call, I'm like, hey, bro, guess what? They want you in charge. You know that? They want you. We've all prayed about it. It's all up to you. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. No thanks, guys. I want to have some Israeli missile in my ear the second I say, okay, let's do it. Yeah, I'll what's going to be very interesting too is to see is as the infrastructure gets destroyed and falls apart, to see how many of the Iranian guard stick around and how many just like, okay, well, I'm done. Like once they realize there's no consequences, there's no one like, okay, I'm the guy with the gun. I don't want to be the guy with the gun anymore. Like there's no guy behind me with a gun. There's no, you can't enforce anything anymore. I think this was, it could be one of the greatest and positive things the United States has done in quite some time.
So if I may play devil's advocate.
Please. Which I thought you were going to.
Me?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I would never play devil's advocate, sir.
Dude, you make me nervous because if you do go opposite of me, I gotta know I gotta know what I'm talking about because otherwise you make me look stupid real quick. And you've done it before, and I was kind of nervous about it today. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, keep going. No, I'm just kidding. That's so devil's advocate.
Yes.
So Trump ran on the idea that regime change wars and forever wars are bad wars, are the dumb wars, are the wars of the past. He's gonna be the peace candidate, the anti-war candidate. He's already struck at Iran, destroyed their nuke program, and then he talks about in the State of the Union speech, which amazingly gets sucked up by the news cycle so incredibly fast, about the success in tackling Iran and constraining Iran. And then he goes out and, under what Rubio said, they knew Israel was going to attack, so rather than sit back and wait, they were going to assist Israel in striking Iran and try to clear that up later in the press conference and blah, blah, blah. A little bit of politicking right there.
The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Whatever, yeah. That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that drives me nuts. Where it's just like, would you listen to the whole clip for God's sake? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think the full clip is the first thing he said before his attempt to clean it up later.
Follow up. Yeah.
Ultimately, this operation needed to happen. That's the question of why now. But this operation needed to happen because Iran in about a year or a year and a half would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones, that no one could do anything about it because they could hold the whole world hostage. Look at the damage they're doing now. And this is a weakened Iran. Imagine a year from now. So that had to happen. Obviously, we were aware of Israeli intentions and understood what that would mean for us, and we had to be prepared to act as a result of it. But this had to happen no matter what.
Rather than his follow-up, the initial comments, where he was stating what led us to take this action. And last I checked, America First was supposed to be America first, not, letting some other country dictate whether or not we decide to utilize our weapons of war. So it almost feels like a real betrayal of that Trump would go out and acquiesce to Netanyahu, a man who's been in power for longer than anyone can remember. He's the reason that the payment to Hamas went through Qatar. Israel allowed it to happen before October 7th. No one can deny it. It really,
I'm agreeing.
So with all of that, it's, it does feel like a betrayal. It does feel like Trump has trampled on the America First, no foreign influence bandwagon in favor of his good friend Bibi. And so how should somebody who fears another Iraq respond to that when they see the regime of Iran be totally obliterated? They have no plans of who's going to take over. The Shah's son is kind of a dark horse candidate, but then Trump says, we're not really looking at him anyway. So that kind of passes him aside. Power abhors a vacuum. That's what we had in Iraq. We couldn't create any sort of stable administration. And if we had the same thing with Iran, who is going to take over? I don't know. And that kind of uncertainty and fear, all for country Israel lobbies us and tries to get us involved in their wars. Just look at the Levant affair.
On the 23rd of July, a bomber approached the British-owned Rio Cinema in Alexandria. His device went off prematurely. Not long after, 13 men and women were in Egyptian custody, and much to the surprise of the authorities, they were not communists or Muslim Brotherhood, but Egyptian Jews and Israelis. They belonged to Unit 131 under the control of Israel's military intelligence, or Aman, who were seeking to weaken the credibility of the Egyptian government and keep Britain in Egypt.
So this goes back to, their independence years. So what is somebody that has voted for Trump 3 times, believes he won all 3 times, and believed in his America First, no new wars, he's a peacemaker, he's not even able to end the Ukraine and Russia war, unable to end what's going on with Hamas and Israel? What is one to make of that?
For me, this is nothing. This is securing the safety in the region and securing the safety in the world, which does nothing but benefit the United States. When things are stable, the United States and the world benefits because of the way we're set up. With us taking out Iran, we are getting rid of a legitimate nuclear threat. I would say even more of a threat than a North Korea or a Russia. And the reason why is because of the religious fanaticism. There's nothing holding them back at all from doing it. So, A, just from security. B, their little axis that they had. This really hurts China's oil intake. There's a good hunk of China now that's got to figure out how they're going to negotiate now to get more oil. They were going a lot backdoor with oil. If you're pro-Ukraine, this is going to help you on that front, because Russia was getting all their drones. A good hunk of their oil was coming from from Iran, from the regime. So you're affecting now two different things on two different fronts by taking actually three different fronts. So what if there can be peace in the Middle East to where Saudi Arabia is working with Israel? If Saudi Arabia works with Israel, everything else will fall in the line. Everything else will fall in the line. Because, in my personal opinion, this is social evolution in action. The Arab world never had their Protestant Reformation. The Arab world never had their French Revolution. So they've been stuck in this bubble of religion and theology and state, and statehood, all that kind of stuff. Whereas Europe and the Western world, we fought that out hundreds of years ago. This is now an opportunity for them to kind of step forward to the rest of the world. When Trump said that Iran, that they were against humanity, they were against society, they're against modern society. They were on that's what they were against. So, why I voted for Trump, because it was not a choice. Anyway, I'm going to vote for Trump, but he is doing exactly what he said he would do. He's not overstepping. We're not nation building in Venezuela. Do you know right now we are now we have military operations in Ecuador right now, and it's because we're hunting down drug lords.
Yeah, because they won't.
He said he was going to go after. Yeah, no, he said we were going to hunt down drug lords. So look what he's doing. We went there. We got rid of the narco. What's his face out of Venezuela. So we have him. We are checking all of these countries. They're I think the intake, they had some stat, and maybe you can pop it up in the audio here, but it's like a world-breaking statistic of no illegal aliens have come in the past month, and drugs coming into the country is down by 80% or something. And it's because they're not messing around
inside the United States.
Yeah. Look up that stat. It's like a heck of a stat, and it's Trump is doing it. It's almost like he's playing politics like it's a video game. If I were president, you know what I'd do? Man, I'd just go take out Iran. That's what I'd do. And then you get off work that night, you get a pizza, you go home, and you take over Iran. And then the next day you go to work and be like, dude, I took over Iran last night. I don't know why we don't do that.
So I would have two, maybe three, maybe not counterpoints, but questions, clarifications.
Okay.
With the policy of we can do whatever we want whenever we want to, it's fine when it's under Donald Trump and you trust him, you vote for him and such. And
right.
What happens when AOC gets installed in 2028? Because whoops, wouldn't you know it, Wisconsin and Georgia and Pennsylvania all have issues.
Whatever.
And we have President Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And she doesn't really particularly like Hungary. She thinks that Viktor Orban guy, he's a big meanie pants. So she asks her gender non-binary cat familiar defense secretary.
Right. Mr. Meows.
Mr. Meows, yes. Great guy.
Yeah.
Or it. So what is the how do we prevent something like that from occurring with this doctrine of we can do whatever we want whenever we want to? Oh yeah, you, by the way.
I mean, I know, but I know. It's just, this is, I don't know. It could be, this problem would not have gone away any other way. You can't sanction these guys. You can't try to starve them out. You can't reason with them. You can't include them.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
This is the only way to get rid of this problem. Literally. We've been trying for decades. We gave him a bunch of money, and a bunch of got killed because of it. And I don't know. I don't see how this could have gone any other way. And he just had the guts to do it. I don't think an AOC would have the guts to do something like this.
AOC would yank Viktor Orban out of Hungary. So she wouldn't do anything like Iran, but she would do something like, yank some right-wing politician, I don't know, Geert Wilders from the Netherlands or whatever. So he's a threat to the national, whatever, lady. And the second thing was
right.
As well, I do have some information on illegal border crossings at the U.S. border. Historical lows.
Yeah.
It says, for 9 consecutive months, U.S. Border Patrol reported 0 releases of apprehended individuals into the U.S. interior, with all individuals either detained or removed. Like, the Biden administration's policy was, we're going to fly these bastards everywhere. Good luck trying to stop us. A new president, we don't need a bipartisan security bill. Oh, I need my bipartisan security bill. Where's my bipartisan security bill? No, we just need a new president. And Trump has delivered on that. I don't think anyone can complain about that.
Mm-hmm. No. Well, and look at the drug statistic, too. Because it's some drug statistic that is huge where because of all of this, what we're doing, we are pissing off all of the drug kings. Mexico is in upheaval because of what we're doing.
Was Miss Scheinbaum upset?
And that president, I don't know, the Jewish Mexican president. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, what does she do? She's got to placate to Trump and placate to the drug lords because they got her elected. Right. So what is she going to do? She's screwed.
Donald Trump puts another woman in danger. That's how they're going to play it.
But it's. Oh, dude. Well, you saw those what they said about the Ayatollah, the
obituaries.
Obituaries. You see the obituaries? Yeah, the obituaries in the Washington Post and I believe the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. It was either one. And they described him like the kooky old man who lived down the street, who was just full of wise sayings, who liked like sunny afternoons and puppies, and what are you doing? He had a stringy white beard, and
enjoyed writing poetry by the lake.
Yeah, sometimes you'd have to remind him that he had falafel in his mustache. What are you talking about? This guy killed tens of thousands of people. If you didn't agree with him, he would torture you in front of give me a ugh. He was the worst.
But Jason, his little tabby cat, Mr. Meowser, had such a cute little tail, and he loved to pet it every night.
Well, is there any left swingers saying now that what is the left saying about this? Because I know there's no
do you really
from
have
the
to
river
ask?
to the sea chance about this kind of
thing. Do you really
thing.
have to ask?
What is?
Do you really have to ask, Jason?
They're just saying that this is all orchestrated by Israel and what? So, well, no, tell me. I'm not paying attention to
it. First off, they're unhinged. They are a more extreme version of the devil's advocate. Oh yes, we are in World War III. Oh, how terrible! I picked the Ayatollah over the president. I mean, come on! Like, this is just absurd. They really can't effectuate any stoppage to this. Their little war powers resolution effort that was meant to wind down the operation that failed in the Senate with Fetterman, Lurch voting for the operation.
On this, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion to discharge is not approved.
Hey, you have to give Fetterman some credit, though.
Yeah, voting for the thing.
I mean, he's standing up for what he thinks. Yeah.
And I know you don't know what AIPAC is, but he had representatives from AIPAC, which is the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, which lobbies, for Israel interests. I don't think that's shocking to say. There's a book written about it called The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy. It's not a secret, whatever. So he has representatives of AIPAC enter his office, and then he posts it on Twitter because the Twitter leftists the Twitter leftists are so just rabid in their hatred of Israel that they claim that, you're bought off by Israel, et cetera, et cetera. So he leans into it. And, he always shuts down and shouts down, because he's like 7 feet tall, these Hamasnik protesters who are outside his office or, confronting him in the streets or whatever. So somehow, Fetterman, of all people, who is a Bernie Sanders socialist, has become a voice of reason. Now, I don't want to elevate him too highly. He's not a Republican, and he does vote for Democrats more than he does Republicans. But credit to him on this issue.
Well, what Taylor Greene? What's her face? She's lost the plot, hasn't she? What's her name?
Sorry, who?
ATG or what's her name?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
She's a Marty. Yeah.
I did not vote for that.
Yeah, she's lost the plot. She's my favorite. She's the one that said the Jews had space lasers, though, right? That control the weather.
So thank you for opening that up for a potential clarification. So I've only ever heard that, she blamed Jewish space lasers. So I'm a curious man. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Is there a post or something? Like, let me see it. The only things I've been able to find are these blurry ass Facebook posts that are attributed to Marjorie Taylor Greene that doesn't even have the phrase Jewish space lasers. It's talking about, George Soros and things like that, which they equivocate to all Jews, which, of course, he speaks for all Jews. So,
yeah, sure.
Why not? I'm not trying to be glib or like, too defensive of Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I haven't seen the actual proof of her actually saying that.
I think she said it. It might have been so stupid that she took it all down.
Fair.
And I don't know. From what I remember, ask Gemini or ask your AI thing. It'll because I remember it was a few years ago, and she did say it. It was during the California wildfires, and they were desperately trying to figure out a way to blame the Jews on that.
So your evidence is that you kind of remembered maybe perhaps her saying it somewhere at some point in time.
You know what kind of researcher I am. You know what kind of researcher I am, Captain Kirk. You know it.
Or lack thereof.
But I have strong opinions.
I kid.
When I make up for an effort.
So the opinions?
I had to with volume.
All right, here we go. Good old Gemini, who's not a sponsor of this podcast, the Notionally Accurate podcast, Captain Kirk and some guy named Jason, but provides some interesting conversation. Yep. So this is what Gemini says. Now, I'm not making this up. It's right here. Now you can't see it because it's blurred thanks to Zoom, but
okay.
Or how about this? Now, I don't know if I can do this. So this is attributed to Gemini. This is the voice readout. I asked, proof Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed quote-unquote Jewish space lasers on fires. And this is what it says.
Jewish space laser controversy stems from a November 2018 Facebook post written by Marjorie Taylor Greene. While she did not use those three specific words in a row, she authored a detailed post linking the California wildfires to its space-based beam and the Rothschild family, frequent target of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. The post was uncovered and published by the media watchdog Media Matters in January 2021.
And then it goes on. So,
yeah,
like I said, so it wasn't Soros, it was the Rothschilds. So, like I said, she never used the phrase Jewish space lasers. So now, and I believe that she did. It was like, whatever, you're a weirdo.
Okay.
Because I'm not a big fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene anyway. But, I'm a curious man, so I actually did the research, and it came up with that. So.
Yeah, I think Jewish space lasers is like the catchy way of saying it.
Right, yeah.
you know. Otherwise, you're talking about, you know, the Rothschilds
and,
and
add nuance
lasers
and
and
facts to a story. Like, that's so lame. In this economy, come on.
There's no hook there.
It really isn't.
Yeah. Jewish space lasers, quick to the point.
If it bleeds, it leads.
That's awesome. Well, I'm that's great. So we're going to see, and obviously, I will give my opinions on what happens in the future, but I don't think we're nation building. I think this was necessary. I think this is world changing and history making. I think if Trump can turn the economy around, he will be considered the most consequential person probably in this millennia. This century. And I know it sounds weird. I'm in 26, but like, honestly, like Trump might be considered like the most pivotal person in the history of the world. And I'm not pro everything he does, and he's going to make mistakes, and I get it and whatever. When things don't go his way, or if it doesn't look good, he changes his plan. He's never locked into something. He's not locked into an ideology, which I think is phenomenal. I don't know if we'll ever have another president like that, because everything else, because my thought now is like, okay, if we can keep going with this, and if the world can be safer, and the United States can turn things around, and socially we're healthy, and we can do this, who's going to be our next president? That's my only worry. It's like, okay, like, because I don't know. The left, I mean, just imagine, dude, what this world would be like if Kamala won. Just imagine what this world would be like right now, dude. We'd be oh my God.
We would be bogged down in Mozambique.
Oh my God. No.
I mean, that's
we wouldn't even militarily, who cares? We wouldn't even be doing anything. Yeah. We would be, dude.
But think about it.
Boys would be girls.
Like, we would be totally inept, totally incompetent. That's what you would bring to the table. And her little, woe is me book tour that totally flopped in her face. Totally deserved. Thank God President Trump is president. I think he made the right moves here. He knows exactly the angles to take and what lines to cross and the envelopes to push and other cliched metaphors. But we have so far a very successful operation. And if it remains successful, the American people are going to stand behind it. If it's quick and painless, all the better. I do want to take a moment out and say, whatever deity one might believe in, may they protect the U.S. troops and her allies, military and personnel as well. There have been so far six casualties so far, not as a result of the operation, but Iran's retaliation. So that's on Iran. That's not on the coalition. So just wanted to take a moment out and say that. I didn't want to let the entire podcast go through without saying something of that effect.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Well, I did think of you this week because I saw a poll that said that 60% of Americans are against this war, and then I thought to myself, man, fuck polls.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? For what?
So I thought of you. I was like, I don't agree. I don't think that poll's true. I think the average American is like, okay, yeah. And what he did with Venezuela, it was like, what? Like, that's crazy. So I think, we're not nation building in Venezuela right now. We might have a presence. We're going to have a presence everywhere. And that's just the way it is. Like, that's just the way it is. Well, I don't think the United States should do that. Okay, well, it's just the way it is. We're going to have a presence everywhere. It's a small world now. Everything affects everyone. Okay, so we're going to have a presence everywhere. Or at least try to. That's just the way it is. And I don't, now whether we control what's going around, like whether we are the reason things are happening, that's a whole different thing than we are going to be there. We're going to be around Latin America. We're going to be around South America. We have to be, because it's for American safety, and we don't have to necessarily meddle. We don't have to build.
I mean, I think destroying an entire administrative regime, I mean, it's kind of meddling. I mean, you know.
No, I know, and I'm not saying. I don't know.
Just having the CIA is a permanent
what I'm saying. It sounds incredibly
state. That's what we're going to be as long as the CIA is still in operation.
Yeah, and I know.
You don't like your acronyms. I get it. You're
and I know
I get it. You're part of the AAs.
What? Well, I know I sound naive, but I don't know.
Is America a force for good in the world?
This is. I hope so.
In what ways?
I hope so.
So you don't know, you just hope so.
Culturally, well, I mean, we are. It's because of the way we built our society. I mean, I think we lead the world in technology. I think we lead the world in culture. I think we lead the world. Just the world pays attention to us, and the reason why is because we made it that way. After World War II, the whole world had nothing except for us. Like the whole world was devastated,
and the Soviets,
except for us. So and the Soviets, right?
You know, that little empire.
But right, okay, yeah. But even the Soviets didn't have as much as we had, though. Like, yes, the Soviets. But the Western world, even Western Europe was destroyed. The Soviets had their own thing going on. We were pretty much unscathed after World War II. Other than, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't. So we had that boom, and we dominated the world. And ever since then, we have been. We're I don't know. We're the United States. I'm proud to be an American, dude. I mean, everyone knows America. You know what I mean? Like. This Donald Trump is putting the swagger back to the United States. It's like, don't stop. Our word means something. And yeah, I know in the past it hasn't. And I know in the past we've done horrible things, and we can hopefully in the future not repeat our mistakes. But you can't wilt away from things because of what you've done in the past. You have to step up and do what has to be done now.
Anyway, thanks for listening to episode 28 of Notionally Accurate. Thank you to some guy named Jason for joining me on this one. I'm your host, Captain Kirk, more to come on future episodes. Find this podcast on SoundCloud, Rumble, and YouTube. Follow the podcast on Twitter/X @NotionallyACC. That's @NotionallyACC. Email me at notionallyaccurate@protonmail.com. That's notionallyaccurate@protonmail.com. Take care, and remember, even if you can't be factually correct, you can always be notionally accurate.